Week 6 is in the books, and we got some huge trade news. Davante Adams to the Jets, baby. Let's go. And welcome back to the Standard Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and Jono could not make it on this. We actually filmed an episode last night. Turned out we didn't turn the audio on for my mic, so it went and scratched itself, so I'm refilming here today. And luckily I did, because I get to bring you the breaking news, which is Davante Adams to the New York Jets for a third-round pick, a conditional third-round pick. Can be a second if he does make All-Pro or does play in the AFC Championship and Super Bowl. But the great move for the Jets. They absolutely needed it. Mike Williams is going to see the pine tar right now. He's going to be riding the bench. But Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams, and Breece Hall, I think this is a good outlook for all three of them. Honestly, Garrett Wilson is going to get single coverage. Imagine what Lazard has been doing this year. We've thought that he's been kind of like the unsung hero at the wide receiver core for the Jets, more so than Garrett Wilson. I think Davante Adams is going to slip right into that role. A lot of those third down conversions, a lot of red zone targets. They're on the same page with a lot of things. Garrett Wilson's still going to be the big play guy. This is really interesting for what it does to the running backs, because I think Breece Hall gets a bump. Braylon Allen gets a bump. They're going to see a lot less stacked boxes against them, considering you can't double cover. You can't single cover these guys on the outside. With Davante Adams there, he's going to absolutely dominate. That's assuming that if he's healthy. I expect big things from him, much better numbers than where you're seeing him produce this year from Las Vegas, and I think a better rest of season outlook for Davante Adams for sure. But huge news. Another big news is Zay Jones is back off the IR. So we'll talk. We're back off suspension, so I'll talk about a little bit more updates on him later. We'll go over some injuries from this week. We had a lot of them. So starting with the running back, we had Jordan Mason with an AC joint. He should be out for a number of weeks. He might never touch the ball again this season, because if he's going to be out for 3 weeks, Christian McCaffrey could be back in that time frame, and then we might not get to see Jordan Mason, which is a shame. He was having a great season, but we've seen any running back kind of take the place in this backfield and produce. So yeah, Jordan Mason AC joint going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks. Sorry for you guys who picked him up off waivers or drafted him. Good on you. Good early season start for you guys. Another injury news from the running back position: Jerome Ford out with a hamstring. Nick Chubb is coming back onto this. I do like Deontay Foreman as a sub. I don't think Nick Chubb is going to take a bulk of the workload and take 60% of the carries in this backfield. So someone else is going to have to produce here. Jerome Ford, it looks like he's going to be out for at least this week. We'll see if he does practice in any capacity this week. Hamstrings are weird because any of these soft tissue things are weird. And it's really judged on, like, are they practicing that week? Are they going to be good to go? If they're ruled out pretty early in the week, like if we start seeing people ruled out Wednesday or Thursday, we can assume that it's probably going to be a multi-week injury. But if a guy's almost ready to go that week, he might only miss one game. I still think it's something to caution. Jerome Ford, I still think has value, so don't drop him. Same thing with Jordan Mason. Do not drop him in case anything does happen, in case Christian McCaffrey is a long-term injury and he's going to be out for more than 8 weeks. But I wouldn't drop either one of those guys. ETN was dealing with a hamstring injury. He had an awful performance. But this is something, guys, we've been talking about it for weeks. Tank Bigsby should be owned on every single team. He has a role in this offense with ETN healthy. Now that ETN's not healthy, he's going to have a significant role. He's a guy that I liked, not just a plug and play or a bye week replacement for this week for any of the teams that are on bye. But I do like him as a rest of season stash. He's a good flex option, certainly when ETN is in there. But I think he's a startable option, a running back 2 upside for Tank Bigsby if ETN's out. So same thing with Jerome Ford. Keep an eye on if ETN is practicing this week. It'll kind of dictate what kind of time frame we're looking for his return. The last running back, another hamstring injury, was Tajay Spears. Pollard's looked good this year, so it's hard for me to make an argument to say Tajay is a rosterable guy, but he's just, the production has not been there. This offense isn't kind of as explosive as we thought it was going to be. But Pollard's been good back there. So as long as Pollard keeps doing what he's doing, I don't think Tajay is going to have a significant workload. or fantasy viability unless there's an injury to Pollard. A bunch of wide receiver injuries this week. We had Marvin Harrison and Chris Olave both in concussion protocol. Olave is definitely going to be out there on a short week. They're playing Thursday night, so I can assume Olave is going to miss at least this week. Marvin Harrison potentially could miss multiple weeks. We just saw with Neighbors, he missed 2 games with a concussion. I think teams are definitely taking it slower with these guys with concussion protocol, and depends on kind of what their hits are like. I didn't think Marvin Harrison's hit was too bad, but then he got up, stumbled a bit, came out, and they ruled him out immediately. So there might have been a significant enough concussion. So I'm definitely cautioning on both these guys, but really good options for both these teams for this upcoming week. For both the New Orleans Saints and Arizona Cardinals, I alluded to it earlier. Zay Jones is off of suspension. Looks like he's going to play this week too. One of our guys that we're going to be talking about later on is Michael Wilson, but another guy is Zay Jones that you should absolutely keep your eye on. Definitely like him. And then we have a pair of Packers wide receivers that got injured this week. Jaden Reed with an ankle injury and Dontavian Wicks with a shoulder injury. Looks like both of them potentially could be missing this week. If it does, obviously Christian Watson's a good start this week, and Romeo Doubs is a good start this week. I think Bo Melton and Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft, I think, definitely gets a big bump. I expect him to have a nice tight end 3 or tight end 1 viability, but a top 3 performance this week just because of the amount of volume he's probably going to get. Bo Melton's going to get some attention. He's going to get touches in the game. I don't know how much he's worth playing this week or picking up. I'd rather have Dobbs or Watson or Kraft if he's available. He shouldn't be available, though, in most leagues. The last guy we'll talk about on this list is Rashid Shaheed. He popped up yesterday on the injury report. He's potentially going to miss this Thursday with what they call a concerning knee injury. So this could be a multi-week thing, which is great for some of the other options that are available on the waivers, and definitely available. I mean, guys less than 6% owned. So the last one is a tight end. We have Dallas Goedert with a hamstring injury. So definitely they're using him there. They're using him. They're using the tight end position in Philly. They were targeting Goddard 2 weeks ago. Looked like they were going to start targeting him in that last game, and that was pretty indicative of Calcaterra getting the volume that he got in that game. But yeah, that's the injuries for this week. We'll kind of move on into our waiver section. So we'll start in the quarterbacks first. So with the quarterbacks, we have 3 guys on this list: Justin Herbert, Andy Dalton, Drake May. We had a nice argument yesterday. I wish we had that film and we had audio from it, but Jono and I kind of went back and forth on Justin Herbert's viability. Justin Herbert, for me personally, Jono likes him. For me personally, I think there's better options this week. Andy Dalton, Drake May, Daniel Jones, all 3 guys that I would start over Justin Herbert. It's not by a talent. I think this offense is built around running the football. I don't see many games this year that Herbert is going to throw for 2+ touchdowns. I think this offense is based around playing defense, running the football, and controlling the clock. There's not a lot of talent on the outside for wide receivers, so I don't love Justin Herbert. Even for a bye week replacement, there's a reason he slipped in drafts this year. I don't own any shares of him. I didn't want any part of him. Drake may look good in his, he had his rookie moments, especially the first couple drives. He looked really, he looked like a rookie. He looked like a guy in his first start. But the pass to Boutte, the pass to Pop Douglas looked really good later in the game. Ended up with 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But for a bye week replacement, it is a pretty good option, especially against Jacksonville. I like that matchup. And then Andy Dalton, I think, is a really good matchup again this week. We've seen Leggett get more involved. We've seen Deontay Johnson have a resurgence this year with him. This offense just looks and runs a lot better with Andy Dalton at the helm. They've seen the run game. Chuba Hubbard's been extremely effective. But I think that now that teams have to kind of respect the pass a little bit, they are allowing Chuba to get chunk plays. I mean, it just seemed like every time Chuba touched the ball, he was blowing up downfield with these 6, 7, 8 yard gains, if not more. So Those are the three quarterback options. I mean, with quarterbacks and with tight ends, it's a lot of streaming options. We'll talk about if there's long-term value in owning these guys. I think Andy Dalton, definitely in a deeper league, multi-quarterback league, he is viable to own. I would own him. But the other guys, I probably wouldn't. Again, Jono and I disagree a little bit on Justin Herbert. I just don't think from a fantasy perspective there's a high enough floor and a high enough ceiling for me to want to start him. Like if I'm going to have a bye week replacement for one of my quarterbacks, and Caleb Williams is on bye this week. So if I have to run a quarterback out there, I'm looking for a guy that has some explosive ability to him. Even the one quarterback I actually do want to talk about. I'm glad I kind of went on a little tangent. And just something to keep an eye on in Cleveland is Jameis Winston. So if you're a Deshaun Watson, for a single quarterback league, it's not worth it. But definitely for dynasty leagues or for superflex leagues, definitely keep an eye on what's happening there. I like Jameis Winston, and I like the rest of this Browns offense if Jameis Winston is playing. And big step up from Amari Cooper. I mean, we haven't had Deshaun Watson throw for 250 yards in how many weeks? It's been bad. This offense, even though they're running the football, even though they're getting Chubb back, it's just I don't think that there's enough value there that you're really getting a bump in those players. Like they're going to have their weeks, but I think with Jameis Winston like throwing the ball and being able to spread the field a little bit better, then we're going to see Amari Cooper, David Njoku actually get a bump in what their fantasy production is going to be like, which is something definitely I'm looking forward to. In terms of running backs, there's a couple guys I want to talk about. Isaiah Grawendo is the first guy. Obviously, with Jordan Mason going down, with McCaffrey kind of not on the cusp of coming back anytime soon, there's value in having 49ers running backs. And we've seen this in the past with Elijah Mitchell, and we've seen Matt Breida, and we've seen Raheem Mostert earlier in his career. Any guy that comes in there, and Jordan Mason this year, I mean, any guy that comes in there is going to have an effective running game. They're built to run the football and play action off it. They have this spread, the Shanahan system, where they like to get on the outside. They like these lane runners. I expect Grawendo. We saw explosive ability from him. The huge run last week, ended up 10 carries for 99 yards. It's just he has that big playability about him. I think he's going to get a lot of work in the next coming weeks. So definitely priority add for him at running back. The other guy is D'Onta Foreman. I alluded to it earlier. Even with Nick Chubb coming back, with Jerome Ford possibly missing multiple weeks, D'Onta Foreman we saw get work last week, and I expect him to have a bigger workload, splitting touches with Nick Chubb and giving him a spell to let him recover from that ACL repair and the knee repair. I do expect Chubb long term to be the guy there, but in the next coming weeks, if you need a guy to play, especially for any bye weeks or injuries that you're having, D'Onta Foreman is a guy that I would personally go and add. Tyler Algier is another guy. He's still low owned, and guys, he is the real deal. This is a 1A, 1B situation. We've been saying it since Bijan got drafted. I know everyone's excited about Bijan Robinson. I like his talent, but Algier is still really talented back there, and they like him. They're going to give him work. They're going to give him, he could have had a better week. He ran for over 100 yards last week, but he could have had even a better week if he had the big run, gets stopped at the one yard line, and Bijan comes in and scores a touchdown. So got sniped off of that, and Bijan ends up having the 2 touchdowns, but Algier easily could have had one on that, and he's been extremely productive both in the passing game and the running game. So he's a guy, if you have the space available, I would put him and stash him on your team. Another running back is Tyrone Tracy. This is someone I talked to Jono last week about putting on our waiver wire. I've been talking about him for a couple weeks now. He's going to have a role in this offense. Even Neighbors coming back, he's going to be the passer there. Singletary's out. This offense looked actually really good. I hope they continue to run the hurry up. If they keep running the hurry up offense, Tyrone Tracy's going, especially PPR, he's going to have a huge, huge value. This is a converted wide receiver going to running back. He can catch the ball. They can line him up outside. They can do a lot of special things with him. They can have multiple running backs in the backfield. So I like Tyrone Tracy as an option moving forward. And obviously, if Singletary doesn't play, I like him a lot more as a standard option. But from a PPR standpoint, Tyrone Tracy is a guy you should absolutely keep your eyes on. Going on to wide receivers, we have Bub Means, Michael Wilson, Romeo Doubs, Mario Douglas, Zay Jones on this list. Bub Means is my priority ad this week, especially with the Shaheed news. If Shaheed and Olave don't go, there's just no one there. They got to have some people catching the ball. I expect bigger games from Jawan Johnson. And I know we have a rookie quarterback starting, tougher matchup against a good defense. Possibly no Patrick Surtain in this game. But a Thursday night, short week, Kamara is going to have a big day. But then with no one on the outside, someone's going to catch the ball. And even with Bub Means, I really liked him the way he played. He was open on a lot of one-on-one routes. It's not just a volume play. I like him as a season long. I think he worked himself into at least a third option when everyone's healthy. The Shaheed injury scares me more than Olave because a concerning knee injury could be a nagging thing. He could have some drainage that they need to do. I mean, they could do some cleanup and do a meniscus cleanup, which would be out multiple weeks. We just don't know, and there's a lot of options. But the fact that he popped up on the report late. He's going to miss this week at least. Bub Means is the guy I would absolutely want to add. Obviously, we talked about injuries earlier with Reed and Wicks down. Romeo Doubs is a really good option. Again, he's under the 40% owned. This week, I expect Tucker Kraft and Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson to have a big workload for the Packers. They rely on those wide receivers to get open. The reason we don't like any of these guys is because they have this rotating cast of really good playmakers out there. Now with two of them down, especially Jaden Reed, I expect a lot of volume going to these other guys. With Dobbs in there, we saw the 2 touchdowns last week. I don't expect him to have 2 touchdowns this week, but there's no one really there that's going to step up. Bo Melton's a guy that on deeper leagues you can absolutely target. He's going to get work this week. He's going to be worked in as a number 3. Tucker Kraft, again, we talked about him at tight end for the Packers. I expect him to have a really, really big week. But then, we talked about Michael Wilson from the Arizona Cardinals. If Marvin Harrison's going to miss multiple weeks, I personally like Zay Jones a little bit better than I like Michael Wilson. They're right there even, and I like Michael Wilson. We saw last week him come up, big play in the end zone. But I think Zay Jones has proven on teams that he can sustain a number 1. We should have, this is going to be an exciting offense once he comes on the outside. Dortch, I like Dortch in this game more than Michael Wilson, just based on what kind of this defense is susceptible to. So I personally would love to be able to get Dortch and throw him in, especially on a PPR format. Michael Wilson is going to absolutely get work in this game. They're playing the Chargers, and the Chargers have been susceptible to a lot of these short routes, and we saw with the Denver game last week, they weren't letting the big play downfield of the possessions. There's a lot of the quicker routes, so that's why I knew I liked the offense. I couldn't remember in the moment what defense they were playing. But yeah, Michael Wilson, good option. The going on to tight ends, we just have 2 on here. Carcaterra is my primary ad this week. With Goddard being out and he might miss multiple weeks, Calcaterra was getting targeted even with Goddard in the game in the this season. So he's an option that I absolutely like. And then Zach Ertz is the other one. Big play. We thought coming into the season that Ben Sinnott was going to get a lot more work. I expected bigger things from him, but my big caution on that was that Zach Ertz was still there. Zach Ertz was going to be a veteran guy that they rely on. He gets open. He can still get open. But we've seen the last couple of weeks. Jaden Daniel, I think I absolutely love him. I drafted him this year on my main team. I absolutely love what he's been doing. He's super efficient with the ball. Knows he's not stretching the field when he doesn't need to, but he has options. He's checking down. Zach Ertz is a great option for him. Really like him, not as just a bye week replacement. The other guy on this list that I really want to talk about is Hunter Henry. Like, he needs to be owned, especially with Drake May now. He needs to be owned, and he needs to be a starter. He's a number 10 tight end this year so far, and this is a guy that always sneakily is in the top 10, and you don't really think about it. But now with a quarterback that can actually move this offense a little bit, I expect him to be the number 1 target there. We don't know who's really going to step up at the Patriots for the wide receivers. There's a lot of options there. Polk and Javon Baker, Pop Douglas. And Pop Douglas is a guy that you can absolutely stash on your team. I just don't know. I talked to John about this when we filmed yesterday, that I'm kind of pausing and waiting on the wide receivers position. I'm going to pull the trigger on Hunter Henry, but I'm waiting on the wide receiver position because Javon Baker didn't play in this game, and we just didn't know who was really going to step up. Is it going to be Boutte? Is Polk going to get a little bit more work and more volume? Is Pop Douglas going to be a consistent thing? If you can get him for free, it's a good stash right now, but I wouldn't pay anything for any of these wide receivers as of yet. Hunter Henry, though, I think he's worth at least 10% of your fab. We have a couple tight end streamers this week. We have the Chargers against Arizona, and then we have Buffalo Bills playing the Tennessee Titans. The Chargers playing Arizona. I like both these matchups. This is good, good streamable options this week. Defenses have been weird. That's why I always liked getting 2 of the top 10 if you are playing defenses. But getting someone that's been really consistent for you. But yeah, Chargers have been good. They've been keeping games low scoring at least, and I don't expect things to really blow up this week, especially if Marvin Harrison is going to be out. James Conner was a little banged up in this game, but he looks like he's going to be good to go. Anyway, that's our waiver episode. We'll check in. We're going to do our start sits on Thursday. Drop in. Don't forget, before we leave, like and subscribe. Hit that notification button. Please keep supporting our channel. We are next milestone is going to hit 1,000 subscribers. We're looking forward to that. We're going to do a big giveaway, maybe a weekathon or a giveaway-a-thon, a full week of giveaways to our subscriber base once we hit the 1,000 mark. Really, we love the support. We love drop the comments if you have any trade suggestions or anything like that. Recommendations on who you would add for who would you drop. We'd love to answer those questions. We do try to get back to you guys as quickly as possible for that. Yeah, I mean, even if you don't like us, drop us, push us out to your league mates, and tell them you have you found some guys with really good advice that you've been listening to, which is why you're winning, and you want to sabotage them because you hate us and you hate our advice. We apologize if we help beat you, but we love the support. We love to continue to grow here, and we appreciate all of you guys for helping us grow this channel, doing something we absolutely love to do. All right, guys, until next time, see you later.